Victory after victory followed for Germany. By early 1942, Hitler was master of Europe, with his conquering armies advancing deep into the Soviet Union. Gescher shared in the euphoria. As the Führer strutted on the Berghof terrace, Gescher witnessed the parade of grandees who came to seek his patronage. Hitler did not touch alcohol, preferring a glass of apple juice, but many of his senior commanders and party officials were tremendous drinkers. This was fatal for Gescher. When he drank, he often got out of control. In April 1942, he went too far. A report was soon on Himmler's desk. During a binge drinking session, Gescher had pulled out his pistol and threatened another SS officer. He was soon calmed down, but this time Hitler could not prevent his punishment. Gescher was dismissed from command of Hitler's personal escort and banned from drinking for 3 years. But far worse, he was sent for basic army training. At the age of 37, this man, who had enjoyed the luxury of Hitler's court, was to be sent to the Eastern Front to face the full fury of fighting the Russians. It must have seemed like a death sentence. For Gescher, it looked like the end of the line. For Himmler, it seemed that at last he had got his revenge. The unit to which Bruno Gescher was sent after being sacked from command of Hitler's escort group was a Waffen-SS Panzer Division. By mid-1942, the original Leibstandarte SS Guard Regiment had grown into an army of more than 12 divisions. Regarded as an elite force, the Waffen-SS was often used in the most critical and dangerous sections of the front. Gescher was given 8 weeks training and then sent to a unit fighting in southern Russia. It was a severe challenge for a 37-year-old with no combat experience at all. He arrived just in time for the major summer offensive, Operation Blue. By the end of July, the Germans had burst through the Red Army and were approaching their objective, the oil fields of the Caucasus. But the speed of the Panzer's advance overstretched their supply lines. They shuddered to a halt just outside Stalingrad. Gescher fought well during the offensive and was evacuated after being wounded. Much to Himmler's surprise, he was ordered to return to Hitler's headquarters in December 1942. Years of easy living in the SS escort had not made him too soft for battle, and Hitler was pleased with his performance. He reappointed Gescher commander of his close escort, but this was largely symbolic. Much of the administrative burden was undertaken by the SS adjutants. It was a lucky escape for Gescher. In November, the Soviets unleashed a ferocious counterattack at Stalingrad that trapped and then annihilated thousands of German troops in a desperate last stand. Gescher could have been among them. Shortly after this disaster, an order was issued that no one who had served in Hitler's headquarters was to be allowed to fight on the Eastern Front. Their capture and interrogation by the Soviets could seriously compromise the Führer's security. By now, Hitler was spending most of his time at his main military headquarters, codenamed the Wolfschanze, or Wolf's Lair, near Rastenburg in East Prussia. Today, this is in Poland. The remains of the massive concrete buildings and bunkers can still be seen deep in the forest. The Begleitkommando and RSD still provided the close protection with a much enlarged Führer Protection Battalion of the Wehrmacht, providing the mass of sentries, patrols and anti-aircraft units. From the Wolfschanze, Gescher and his team would accompany Hitler on his occasional visits to headquarters nearer the front, or to Berlin or Berchtesgaden. Usually these trips were made by air, despite the increasing danger of interception by Allied aircraft. Gescher kept his head down and avoided any conflict with Himmler for the whole of 1943 and most of 1944. By then, the war had turned decisively against Nazi Germany. On the Eastern Front, the debacle at Stalingrad had been followed in July 1943 by a catastrophic defeat near the city of Kursk. From then on, the German armies were on the retreat. By the middle of 1944, the Red Army was pushing across the border of Poland, and by the end of August, it was just a few miles short of Warsaw. Even worse for the Germans, the long-awaited Second Front had begun in June with US, British and Canadian forces crossing the English Channel and establishing a bridgehead in northern France. By the end of August, they had broken out, and Paris had been liberated. Gescher saw the Führer rapidly age before him. No longer invigorated with success, Hitler shuffled around his headquarters, directing his frustration not at the enemy, but his own generals. It was they who had let down Hitler's great schemes. It was they who were conspiring against him. And he was right. Many generals wanted an end to the war while they could still negotiate a deal with the Western Allies.